We're back. We're back. It's Monday, Astro Monday. We're going to be going live with Chris Witecki. And if you guys joined last week, you know that he gave us a very accurate, at least for me and everybody else I know, is very accurate rundown of the week. And he always comes with profound wisdom and a weather report of the energies that's going on in the cosmos, which is really just a reflection of us. And as he was saying last week, that when it's happening, the culmination of what's been happening within our life. I have invited him on, and he's coming. There he is.
Hello.
How's
My
it going?
goodness. What a crazy little moment there we had there. You were trying to get on. I saw you stalling. My assistant's calling, ringing. She keeps interrupting. And I was just like, I'm backstage. Like, don't interrupt because I was afraid it would screw it up. So, anyways, welcome to Libra. Why
Yeah, tell Libra. I saw that on the text messages.
Yep.
I'm not an expert though. I don't even know what that really means.
Aren't you a Libra?
I am a
Yeah.
Libra, but I don't know what
Okay.
you mean when you say welcome to Libra.
Well, what I mean is, so the 12 signs are really 12 states of awareness. And the Libra state of awareness is the part of us is actually the divine feminine. So it's the yin energy, whereas Mars or Aries is the yang energy. So it complements the yin, but it's necessary. I think of it as inhaling and exhaling. Libra is the inhale, Mars is the exhale, or Aries is the exhale, right? So it's that bringing things to you, close to you. So Libra is our ability to open up and receive. And a lot of people actually don't realize this, but they don't have good boundaries. I'll just go right into what I've been talking about. They don't have good boundaries to protect themselves, right? So they actually close off from receiving. And what happens is that's like a way of like, imagine a baby. Like I would say, you try to feed a baby. It's like, no, doesn't want the food. It's using
Mhm.
its Libra energy. It's closing down. It's not accepting energy to it, right? So basically, our Libra energy is our ability to accept and receive. And a lot of people don't have the love they want or the job they want or the money they want, not because they haven't done manifestation correctly, but because they're not open to receive it. That makes sense?
Yeah, and to be open to receive, you actually need space to receive as
Well,
well, right?
the space is the boundary. So that's the biggest problem. The reason why people can't receive is because they don't have proper boundaries that protects them. And so they don't feel safe. And so their heart closes down and shuts down and doesn't take anything in. And so, yes, you have to have the space or boundaries to feel safe to open up and receive.
Okay, so you said that twice. I got it more the second time, which is
Okay.
good.
Well,
That was good.
you just received it more the next time, Libra? I received it more the next time. Well, maybe I'm not pitching correctly. Maybe, I could be a better pitcher for you to be a better catcher. Um,
It. I feel like I receive maybe too much.
yes,
Um,
Libras do. Yes, because they're in default receive mode. Yes.
yeah,
So Libras take
and
on too much. Yeah.
I'm really good at boundaries as well.
Are you? Yeah.
That's not really a problem for me, but I am completely in receive mode all the time. Um,
So
Almost to the point where I'm worrying, like, am I receiving too much? Like that's a constant sort of thing that's running in my mind.
what are you receiving too much of? Like, do you walk in a room like we're at the human garage event? Are you overwhelmed by all those people
Oh
in the
no,
room?
it's
Do you
all
over
good
receive that?
stuff.
Okay.
I mean, even just being at the human garage event, like why, like that, like why me? Why am I receiving all of this positive energy? Like it's like, am I giving a fair amount in this exchange? Like that's where well, I'm always questioning. Like, am I? Because it seems
Are
like
you
I'm giving
giving?
a lot.
Got you. Well, realize to be received is actually also an action. So when a woman receives a man, that's actually the action. That's equality. The energy to bring it in, like to take the energy in, and to be heard or to be seen or to be received is actually quite a great gift. In fact, I think when I do readings, the best thing people say to me is, "I feel so heard. I feel so seen. I feel so received by you." And it's because I understand them. I let them into my heart. in a very, deep, intimate way in that moment, and they are seen in that moment. So receiving is a full-time job. It's one of the 12 states of awareness.
Right.
You're working hard, buddy.
I'm giving gifts to everyone.
Well, and a Libra does receive more than anything. Like, just like a Taurus manifests more than anything, or an Aries does more than anything. Like, each of the signs does more than the other signs of what they do. So, like, the best, like, example of a high level Libra is a judge, right? The judge receives a testimony. The judge receives a testimony. The judge receives the evidence. The judge receives the evidence, weighs both sides, and comes up with a verdict.
I love that. I always wanted to be a lawyer and eventually a judge when I was really, really young. And then I was like, I don't know if that life is for me, but I just like that aspect of life, listening and weighing out. And basically, I see everyone's perspective very well, almost to the detriment of people that come to me wanting to complain about things, and I can't really, especially when they're complaining about other people, because it's like,
Right.
yeah, but
Right. It's difficult. Well,
what,
go ahead.
I was just gonna switch gears,
Okay, go
but
ahead.
and
Go ahead.
ask you about. So we're at Human Garage in
Mm,
Anaheim. When you're at these
hmm
events, because you, speaking of receiving and giving, and you give so much energy at the events. You're an MC. You bring a lot to stage. You give people the weather report of the energy. You just lay everything out so well. But then even after you do that, you're outside
hmm
on a
Receiving all the
table
guests.
and you're talking to people. Basically, you shut the whole event down. When I left, when we were all leaving, you still had people in the line.
hmm
But my question was, in like, do you see a reflection of what's going on in the cosmos, or maybe a reflection of the city as a whole when you do these events? Like, how was your experience in Anaheim on
Oh,
Saturday?
that's interesting. So I'm an empath just like you. So I have the ability to receive also, although I'm a giver. I'm a net nine, so I'm mostly a giver, and you're mostly a receiver. Um, and by the way, if you have a six, if your step number of your sun adds to a six, you're a receiver also, no matter what sign you are. So if you're any sign, 6, 15, or 24, those are the three sixes, you are a receiver. You're here to receive the energy, process it, and give it back. I'm a giver, a net nine. So I noticed that, for instance, I noticed that like in the group was a bit shut down. Like Anaheim was, I can feel the energy and like so how much they bounce off of my because I can like throw a joke and then I receive like their response and I read that and I would say Anaheim was more shut down than I thought they would be. As far as the people were, they were afraid. They kind of felt a little what's the word more dense. So they were that particular area was dealing with hard. They were dealing with harder times. I noticed that Texas also was kind of shut down. We went to Texas and that event. I noticed Canada was pretty open. Like Canada was pretty healthy, just feeling that crowd and where they are. So, I'm not surprised. I think, California has got so much bombarding energy that's negative or not even negative, just Hollywood and all these things that when you live in that area, which is why I left, if you don't have great boundaries, you start to retract your heart, you start to retract your energy, and you start to hide behind this sort of kind of like posture. And that's what they were. It took until the very final round when they were actually clapping and happy and open. I
I
found.
Yeah, the uh, the one thing I noticed about Toronto is that it was like the biggest shift of energy from before the event,
Mm,
after the event.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think most people in LA are kind of used to what we're offering, at least like in that certain degree. So it was more of the same for them. But I feel like Toronto really had a huge shift on how people felt before versus when they were walking out of the room. They're completely different people. It was amazing.
Yeah, and that was a step 4 day, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a day of breakdown breakthrough. That was one of the few 4 days we had. Wasn't it, or was it 29? I can't recall. But it was
And
it
you
was set up. The
mentioned
day was set up for that.
you mentioned. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
There you go. So you're seeing it from a whole bunch of different angles. You
yeah,
mentioned steps. Is there an easy way that people listening right now can figure that out? Like what they
yes.
are?
So basically, you have to run your astrology chart. And you can go to any astrology company. There is. You can go to Serious Joy. By the way, we have it as well. You go into your When you sign up for Serious Joy, it's in the pep talk at the bottom. It tells you your A story, your B story, and what we call your E story, which is your emotional story. But basically, it is the sun. If you run your chart, it is the number next to the sun. It is the degree of the sun. And what that is that the sun is your heart. Okay. And then the heart blasts through two states of awareness that adds to a third. And that's what the step system is. I discovered that there's this sort of extra filter that goes on, which was a breakthrough for me because, you're a Libra and the guy, born next day can be completely different. The planets have only moved just a little bit. And what I discovered was it's the step number, which is our perception of the degrees, that actually shifts the way we sort of prism our energy out. So net sixes sort of have an open door policy, and they're just completely open by default. Now, if they're damaged as a child or damaged, growing up, they will retract and shut down and pull back. But sixes, net sixes, 6, 15, and 24, they're always sort of feeling like a candle in the wind. We're just blowing in the wind of the energy, like,
Mhm.
the room will overwhelm them or the person will overwhelm them. They have to learn to sort of stay strong and ground themselves and really be there for themselves in their heart because you're picking up on all the energies in that six. So
Yeah.
just go get your sun degree.
What do you tell those people? Because I'm at events all the time, and there's always, like, always somebody that comes up to me and is so overwhelmed by everybody, and they
Mm-hmm.
always say, it's too much, and they're saying this, and then I don't necessarily, I know, like, go ground, like I know the basic stuff, but what do you say to somebody who's inside, indoors at an event? Like, what can they do in that circumstance?
Well, the reason that you're overwhelmed is because you're paying attention to the outside of you, not the inside of you. So as soon as you pay attention to the inside of you and feel yourself, you'll see the energy completely drop off because you're paying attention to yourself. And so what you pay attention to is what you draw into you, right? So you pay attention to yourself, that actually puts up a natural wall and blocks the energy that you're seeing. So the reason why people are overwhelmed by energy is mostly that they're not paying attention to themselves. They're not self-centered or self-centric, not selfish. That's different. And as a result, they're going in and they're just being overwhelmed by the sea of energy that just they have jumped into, not knowing. So this is common. And people will tell me, oh my God, I'm getting beat up. Now, there's other things you can do, which are boundaries, right? So you can go into an event like that. You can say, okay, here's how it is. I don't want to feel anyone's shit. I don't want to feel anyone's drama. I don't want to feel anyone's crap. And you just say, no, no, no to that going in. Now, it's hard to believe. You have to try it. But once you command no, it will be so for that moment.
Yeah, I liked what you were saying about Superman focuses on Superman,
Right.
and that's where he gets his power. Can you
Yes.
elaborate a little bit on that? Because that was 2 days ago. You were saying it's probably still relevant from
Yep.
an energetic standpoint.
Well, it's very relevant because we're in step 6. So everyone is like a natural 6 right now. Everyone is in their 6 right now. Everyone's focused on their 6. Everyone has a 6 somewhere, right? So Taurus's 6 is their body. We're constantly picking up from our body. We're constantly, we can't ignore even the smallest little gripe in our body. It's one of the reasons why we're indulgent. We go too far with food. We go too far with alcohol because we want a body that feels good all the time. So every sign has a place where they receive extra. And right now, with the sun in Libra, everyone is open on that particular floodgate. But what I was saying is that we have been wrongly told that our power is outside of us. So, Superman knows his power is inside of us, but when you're about to go do something that's super, let's say, in that moment, like like an Olympic athlete, you have to not focus on the diving board or the crowd or the judges. You have to focus on you, 100% you. And the more you go as far as extreme, as far as what you're trying to do, the more you have to be hyper aware of you and your energy. So Superman must focus on Superman, not Lois Lane when he's about to, or Wonder Woman, I said, when he's about to do something heroic. The same is true with, being in that audience, being on stage. I don't know. How do you feel when you go on stage?
It's actually become normal to me. It's
Mm-hmm. Being on
yeah,
stage is normal. Mm-hmm.
it's I don't actually feel that much of a shift. I used to, but
Mm-hmm.
it's almost hard for me to even remember how I used to feel compared to now. Because now it's more natural to me. But
Yeah.
I feel the audience for sure. But for me, it's positive energy. It's uplifting. It's powerful. is what I feel when the room is engaging with me, especially when I can actually feel when they step into themselves more. I was having them
Yes.
say something, and I literally felt the whole room. I think I told them to chant from their heart,
Wow.
and I felt the whole thing shift, like in the middle. It was like a sound, and then like 5 seconds into that sound, I just felt like a blast of energy because I could feel when they all shifted, when they all figured it out.
Yes. I actually can feel when I'm doing my horoscopes or when I'm on camera, I can say something and I will feel someone upset with what I said. Like this
On
is
camera.
before it's even posted on YouTube. Like through space time, I'll feel that that's going to piss somebody off. And I'll make a correction, like right there on the fly. And then I'll check the comments. I'll be like, someone will be like, I'm so glad you corrected that shit because I was about to, and I was like, I knew it, like, so I've had this affirmation. You are like, it's a very intimate field. When you are really connecting to people, it's very intimate. It's just that people don't usually pay attention to it. And a lot of those nerves you feel on stage is the fact that you are receiving the attention of all these people. Their attention is forcing all their energy toward you. And a lot of people go, I'm nervous on stage. I'm nervous in public. Are you? Or is it that just you're an empath and you're picking up on the energies of everyone?
When I start to feel off, when I can feel another person's impacting me, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
on purpose or not, I do this thing where I imagine my like a toroidal field, like a
Oh,
field,
cool.
like a donut of energy streaming out around me, either from my heart or my brain, depending
Mm,
on where I feel that penetrative energy coming in.
mm-hmm,
And that toroidal field, I imagine it first, and then I strengthen it,
mm,
and then that usually creates a bubble of
mm-hmm,
harmony
mm-hmm,
around me. And within seconds I can reset myself by
mm.
using that technique.
That's powerful. I mean, there's allegedly, you talk about the toral field, right? Like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
torus, like TOR. Yeah,
yeah.
like that is allegedly through the Earth, as through the solar system, as through the galaxy. It's basically, that toral field goes all the way up to the ninth dimension and back down. So you go all the way up to the God plane and back down when you do that toral. That's really advanced wizard stuff, dude. Like most people don't do that. They just sort of think of themselves or see everyone in their underwear. That's pretty advanced shit, man.
Right.
But that's cool that you do that. Like that's really
Yeah,
cool. You
yeah.
know?
I've done a lot of meditation work, and imagining things like that happening, actually, you just reminded me it is advanced, because I remember how much I had to practice, like imagining these things happening,
Right.
and how much work I put into it. And now I'm just doing it as like a technique. I get to use these techniques. Another thing that can work is if you imagine your aura
Yep.
as being like more like having like uh like you almost just build a shell.
Mm-hmm.
You build a shell in an aura so that
Yep.
it's not so fuzzy on the edge, but it's like glass.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the spinning thing because I can actually feel, and that's cool that you just mentioned ninth dimension, because I never really imagined it going through time and space into other dimensions, but I guess it would have to, even just with that shape uh,
Yes.
coming
Well,
in and out.
that shape does go. I mean, I've just learned about it recently, so it's funny that you're bringing it up right when I've learned about it. Um, but apparently, I just learned that that shape goes up all the way to the ninth dimension myself. And you're right. I mean, it's hard to comprehend and believe that if you just imagine this thing around you, it actually works. When I first got into, all spiritual energy work, they would say, visualize this and visualize that. And make, oh, come on, would be my sort of attitude. But once I actually started practicing it in the field where I like was in a situation like yours or in a situation where I was like, turn away and focus on me, you see an immediate shift in your energy. You feel it, you experience it, it's undeniable. So this shift works. It's just, you have to try it. The truth is the universe is under your command, period. It is. Everything in the universe is under your command. That's what humans don't understand. Everything in life, all these molecules are all God consciousness that decided we're going to let you have this visual experience. And so God has given herself to you to experience this moment. It is all allegiant to your command. So what we don't realize is that we can command it, right? And also you have to command it with confidence and knowing who you are. And there's a lot of little tricks to it. but it is the truth.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm struggling with the human language of like command and control and
Uh-huh.
manipulate.
I felt you twitch on that. hmm I felt you
Well,
twitch on that.
it's not how you say it because that's how I would describe it as well. But I'm like, there has to be another. There's another word or there's another energy. I just feel like those words don't really state what's actually happening from like a godly manner. It's not so much control, command, manipulate. Not that you said those other words, but that's I always say
No,
manipulate because the manos or the hands. Um,
right.
I'm
It's not
always
manipulated. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Go ahead.
always wondering because if we have the power, then it's really not a control. It's just happening.
First of all, everyone has free will choice in the universe. Those molecules can decide to disobey your command or not. Don't think that you have the right to overwrite their free will. They have already chosen those energies to be at your service. However, there is a command statement, and this is part of the Ascended Master teaching. The reason why is if you can't stand with authority and command it, you don't belong using that energy. So the command has to do sort of with a, I know I have the right, and therefore I am saying, right? There's that sort of pre-conclusion there. It's that I have the right. Why do you have the right? Because I know I have the right. Because I know I can take the right. Same thing
Wow.
as being special, right?
And that's going back to what I said. I have some hesitancy of receiving
Mm-hmm.
because it's like always happening. So I'm like, I have this power, but yeah, I'm like hesitant to grasp it. Like you just said, like I know I have the right. Like
You
this
totally
is
have
how.
the right as God's child. Yeah, totally. And
Oh no, is that me or him? I will just move in directions to see if I'm freezing. I want to talk to Chris about what's going on in the week. If you guys can hear me and not hear him, let me know who you can hear. Because, well, if you can't hear me, then you're not hearing me, are you? And he's hopefully still talking. Oh, and now he's gone. So we'll bring him back up. I'm really excited to listen to Chris and receive what Chris has to say about this week. Last week, he broke down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like day by day, what the energy is, what we should be looking out to be doing in terms of action, in terms of receiving, in terms of how we relate to those days. And then on Thursday, he comes back on this channel to do that again. And so Scotty says, let's command him back because we have that power. Deep conversation, some energies don't let you do things. Your signal seems weak. We can hear you. Chris has vanished. He's reading some comments. I'm pixelated. Yeah, crazy, huh? Especially since I'm jumpy. Chris is gone. Only hear you, not Chris. Okay, my week has been about certain people do the human language of command. He doesn't seem like the type to be commanded, which is great because he picks up every word and he makes sure that we're in alignment. Let's bring back that question. Expression is the word I use for commanding. Expression. Expression from an etymological standpoint, express means to push out or push up. And so if you're using an expression in place of command, I wonder what command means etymologically. Somebody out there, please look that up. You can go to etym online. It's like the first like the etymology, but it's etym online. Instead of etymology, etym online. And you can look up command and just give us some words of what command means. Expression means to press out or up. And so you're pressing your energy out into reality if you're expressing as reality. And set a command is totally an invitation and co-creation versus manipulation for me. I only use manipulation because manos in Latin, mano means hand. And the word manipulation comes from the handling of reality. You're back.
My phone overheated. Sorry, and it just went out. It's really hot out here in Palm Springs, California. I was actually dying and just holding it in the whole time. So my phone
You,
finally gave up
you,
before I did.
you look so comfortable there. That's why when I saw you on Saturday, I was like, dude, how's it in Palm Springs?
I love Palm Springs. I mean, it's a desert, it's hot. But I actually love it because it's like it's California, but not California. So
Yeah.
it's separated because of the mountains from what has become kind of toxic, on the other side of California. Not every part, but parts of LA, parts, there's just a lot of toxicity. And due to mismanagement, I blame the government, not the people, but there's creative energy that flows from Mount Shasta, which is the root chakra of Mother Earth, all the way down to Mexico, right? And so the reason why I love staying in this
On
energy
the
is because you're in
mountain
that creative
line?
flow. Say again? Yes.
Is it going on the mountain line?
Yes, the mountain line is actually the Mother Earth's spinal cord.
Like, yeah, nerves.
Yeah, so all those bumps are Mother Earth's spinal cord. And so the energy just flows down the mountains and pours off, which is why California is one of the most creative places on Earth because it's literally from the root chakra to the sacral of Mother Earth's body. So I've always loved being in that, right? But it has become corrupt, from a variety of toxicities. Being on the east side of it feels great. So it's like, wow, I get to have the energy, but it's not sort of become toxic, and I think it'll clean up again for the record. Like, I don't want to like doomsday people. It's just California's hit a low point. They've let certain energies overtake the state. It wasn't their fault, what I mean? Like, but it's happened and it needs to be cleaned. And honestly, I think Mother Earth will clean it if they don't. We're talking
I mean,
about, yeah,
that's what happens when we develop as humans too. When we're, yeah, we sometimes, I'm freezing. Sometimes we go off course to learn how to express ourselves in a certain way.
totally. I mean, that's really what California is. We went off course to express ourselves in a certain way. But Mother Earth will, she'll get a fever and she'll take that shift off. Like she's alive, she's conscious, she's aware. And I think that we are basically, one of us is a thought, right? And the animals are kind of blood cells.
You broke up a little bit. I think it might
Yeah.
have been on my, no, not sure. I see
Yeah,
my
I think this
Wi-Fi.
time yeah, I think you're receiving so much of my giving, it's just screwing up the signal. Yeah.
Been happening this whole time.
So
Guys, this is what
crazy.
happens with intensity, all right? Chris, can
Yeah.
you go into, before we flow through the whole hour, last week you you gave an amazing breakdown of the week to come. And
Okay.
so what's going on
Oops.
this week?
So this week is the beginning of Libra. And Libra is, the first part of Libra, the first 9 degrees of Libra from 0 to 9 is what I call the mirage, which is different from a marriage, right? A mirage is how you are connected to yourself, how you, beyond death to your part, you are married to yourself, right? And so we have this part of our soul that does nothing but relate to ourself. Okay. Now that relationship to ourself is usually tainted in the sense that you see yourself in the mirror, you're like, oh, you fatty, or, we have these responses where we shut ourselves down or we don't receive love from ourselves. That's a big one. A lot of people say, I do love myself. Why isn't it working? I'm like, are you receiving it? Are you taking it to heart? Which means, do you feel it? Do you get joyful? Do you have a little giddy moment with yourself? If you don't have goosebumps in a giddy moment, you haven't received it. You've thought about it, you put it out there. So there is this whole process of, can I receive myself? Am I listening to myself? Do I receive today my heart is step one. Tomorrow, do I receive my feelings? Step two. Step three, do I receive my beliefs? Am I listening and receiving my beliefs that are operating? Do I listen and receive where I belong in life? Step four. Do I receive my thoughts? In some cases, I receive my thoughts too much. I give them too much credit. They have too much access to the heart. When we say receive, we mean a direct access to the heart. Okay. It's not to the body or the knees or the shins. It is to the heart. But so I say I receive, I mean I receive to the heart, which is the king or queen of my consciousness, the center of my soul in this reality. And so these first 9 degrees of Libra are basically how well do I work with me? And that's really where most people are damaged. Now, in that space, we have a couple of entities. One is the south node at 6 degrees. So the south node at 6 degrees says literally, who you have been to yourself must go. It does not apply at all anymore. The south node happens to be, I mean, look at the magic of this. 6 is I receive. The south node 6 until we went to 6, move there. So some of the magic of astrology is, oh my God, we move into Libra, and that's the moment when we have to receive, like the South Node is in Libra in 15 years, 18 years. I think maybe you guys see me, but he doesn't.
No, all that. I'm just having a
Yeah, now we
my mind
say again.
is blowing because we've been talking about Libra this whole time. And I didn't realize that is September 20. What day is it? 23rd. Is that the first day of Libra? And so I'm a 19 degree.
You're
So that
19 degree. You're
means the ninth
719.
day.
You're the 9th or
That
19.
I'm the 13th of October is my birthday, but I'm
So
a
you're 19.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder I like you. So you're a Taurus Libra. So what that means is you receive under the purpose of manifesting. That's the reason why you receive. You receive for the purpose of manifesting because 19 nets to a 10, and 10 is I
Right.
manifest. So everything you receive, you're putting in a basket to make into something else. That's your purpose when you receive. And the 9 and the 1 means that when you're receiving, you're basically acting on your heart. The 9 is acting on your heart, which means that you're basically chasing after your heart. You're only letting in things that you love. And that might be a filter you may not realize. Like you might be overwhelmed because you're letting in things you don't love. You're not supposed to at a 19. You're only supposed to let in things you love. So if you don't love it, it's just pedestrian. It doesn't get to your heart. It's not allowed to your heart. So this idea like Jesus had done, that's Jesus, okay? And Buddha. We're not Jesus and Buddha. We're not supposed to let everything into our heart. We're not supposed to, be in love and be oneness with everything on the earth. We're a fractal. We are a piece of God. We are a distinct crystal that has only some properties, not all properties, because we're learning about those singular properties. Jesus was everything, and so he could accept everything, right? So you're only supposed to accept what you love, which means if you don't love it, just say that's not for me.
If you, guys, you should follow Christopher if you're not already. And we got serious.joy.
SeriousJoy.com.
Yeah.
SeriousJoy.com. Serious Joy, Joy, Joy. So SeriousJoy.com is like what we do is we basically take your stuff and we very slowly start to coach you day after day. This is so deep that we send you a message every day and we'll say, this is 19 day, this is 20 day, this is 21 day. We take it one day at a time and we sort of teach you. And really after about 2 years, and I'm not trying to talk up the sales, after about 2 years, a light bulb goes off where people suddenly can anticipate what's about to happen in the universe because they start to memorize the steps and they know what step's going to happen next. So what happens with our subscribers is really about 9 months to a year, they start experiencing the next step before it happens. And they go to us, why am I feeling the next step? And it's because your consciousness is jumping ahead. Now, it's not really good to jump ahead because the universe is not that at that moment. So now you're working against the winds of the universe. The universe is playing, let's say, step 18 and you're step 19. But yes, you're a 19 degree Libra, which means you're chapter 2. You're right on the verge of actually being a master. So a master is step 20. 19 to 20 is that final push to go from pedestrian to master. So you even talking about how, who am I to command? I don't know, a master would. You're right on the verge.
Yeah. No, I feel like I'm a big, whatever like level I'm at, I feel like I'm a beginner. I mean, you know what I mean? Like I'm just starting high school. Even though I'm at high school, I still feel like I feel like I'm just getting to the stage or the level that I'm at right now. Like just in general, that's the general feeling I get with with my command of
Well,
reality, we'll say.
I mean, I want to pull up your chart because it's like, you say you feel like a beginner. Well, maybe your moon is at a beginner step number, so your moon might be there. So emotionally, you might be a beginner, but your heart is a step 19. Your heart's on the verge of being a master of Libra, not of every sign. That's what people go, isn't that divisive, masters and beginners? No, because I'm a beginner. Actually, I'm a beginner at Libra. I have Pluto at 1 degree Libra. That means I'm completely stupid at Libra to 100%. All I do is give, I don't receive. All I do. And my Pluto, my dumbest part of me is 1 degree Libra, where I'm learning how just to receive love from myself. That's how dumb I am at this particular. So, but I'm an 18 degree Taurus and I have Venus at 26 degree Taurus. So I can create like a master and I can do things like a master. When it comes to receiving love from others, I'm an idiot. Like it's the one area I just haven't learned yet. So what you don't understand about astrology is you don't have time to learn every sign, every life. So what I can tell from your step number is how progressed you are in each state of awareness. So in the Libra state of awareness of receiving, you're very progressed. You're almost a master, which means there's not many more lessons to learn about receiving.
What is like the first three or four things that, besides like somebody's sun sign,
Mm-hmm.
what are, because astrology, when I first heard about it, that's all I knew. It was like, I'm a Libra, period. But
Mm-hmm.
like for everyone listening, what would be like the next few
Okay.
things that they should look into to learn more about themselves? Because you're mentioning a lot of things, like you just mentioned Pluto, but like I
Mm-hmm.
know there's a lot of dynamic stuff going on. What would be like the next more potent things they should look into?
There are three basic components that the next level of astrologers, like the next level from nothing novice is. One is your sun sign, which is your heart. So your sun sign, the sun, is what your heart loves the most. Period. And where your heart loves the most is who you are in this lifetime. You are what you love. Period. So you're a chocolate lover. You're a whatever lover. That's what you love. Now the moon sign, which is the sign the moon is in at the time of your birth, is your emotion, how you feel. And the difference between heart and feelings is how you feel is actually a composite of all your lifetimes. So your moon tells us, oh, he's had many lifetimes in this direction because he feels like this person, even though his heart wants to be that person. So your emotions tell us a lot about your past lives. And your emotional maturity, how high your degree is of your moon, tells us how much access you have to that information. If you have a low moon under 9 degrees, you can barely feel yourself. If you have a moon up to 19 degrees, you can feel yourself and you can feel your environment. If your moon to 20 degrees and above, you can feel yourself, your environment, and you can feel the world. So this is an awareness, right? Just like you were telling me, I can feel the audience. See, that's a step 20 awareness. Your feelings can feel the audience. That the audience is the conglomerate. And step 20 and above is feeling the conglomerate. So sun and moon, and then rising. So rising is your ego that was crafted in this life. So you come down as a spirit, your heart wants something, and you feel like something, that's the moon. And then you craft an ego, okay, an ego which is tied to the earth. Egos are tied to the earth. They're not, egos don't go
Right.
back to God, they don't recycle. So out of the earth, you create an ego. And this ego is your body, your perspective, and basically your defensiveness, right? And so that it's basically where you say no to the world. I mean, egos really say no, right? So the ego, it's like, okay, he's going to say no to all these things, which means he's going to say yes to all these other things. And that creates a personality, a distinction, right? So your rising is literally the sign that was rising at the time of your birth on the horizon. So if you went to the east, looked east, and your dad went outside after your mom just spit you out, he would look and he'd go, oh my goodness, this constellation is rising on the horizon. That's your rising sign. And that determines the timing of everything in your life. It determines what you're, basically it tells us where to put the planets. It tells us how to organize your whole life. It's basically how your soul organizes on Earth is based on the rising. So I have a Leo rising. What's your rising?
Virgo.
Okay, that makes sense. So Virgo rising is that your ego is always becoming something else. It's always becoming. It's never done. It's always cooking. It's always changing. It's the process of becoming, right? And so you're always becoming something greater, always. And that's why Virgo risings are never satisfied. And they don't realize that it's like, be satisfied because you are here to always become. You're never here to really make it into anything. By the time you get close, you're going to want to become something else. So,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So they feel disappointed,
I
like,
call them
what?
chapters. I have different chapters of life. Like I have a good relationship with this. I learn and then I switch to be a beginner at something else.
Totally. Yes. And you're wanting to basically see what you're mapping out is the steps involved to become. So once you start to get closer, you're like, okay. You back off because you're interested in how things become things. Your ego wants to know, how do things become things? You know,
Yeah.
how does lemonade become, how does lemon become lemonade? How does this person become sad? How does this person, and see, the act of becoming is actually the act of healing. So 11 Virgo becoming, it's all the same thing. So your body is always becoming healed. It's always becoming well. So what happens in the dis-ease is it interrupts the becoming of being well. So you stop the becoming. It's always in the process of becoming what it is. And it never stops becoming until you die. It's in this process of becoming, which we call life, right? So yeah, I have
Something
a
I always
Leo rising. Go ahead.
yeah, so you can tell us about that, but before I wanted to ask, like, because I feel that I can relate to, even if you're telling somebody else's chart, if you're speaking to them, or if we're
Mm-hmm.
listening to
Yeah.
any astrology about anything, like, how is it if you're listening to somebody else's sign and somebody else's energy that you can take something from that? Like, do we have a part of all of this in us,
Oh,
but just at
yes.
varying
100%.
degrees?
Yeah. And the more you know yourself, so intimacy is into me, I see. Like into me, I see is what creates intimacy. Like, so the more you see yourself, the more you see yourself in others. So the more, so self realization, that's really why my whole business plan with Serious Joy is self realized. If I can get them to understand who they are, they will understand and have compassion for everybody else. Because the reason why people don't have compassion is because they don't have compassion for themselves, right? So the understanding, and you're absolutely right, you do recognize it. And that's part of, that's why people who are elders or wisdom, they've lived many lifetimes, they've seen many things. And so they can see right away in the young becomers, that things that they remember from lifetimes ago where they had messed up. So you're absolutely right. We see ourselves in others.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can learn with them as well.
Totally. And yes, it's a cooperation, because even I will say, to my clients, like, I have a Leo rising, and I'll be like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And they'll be like, oh, blah, blah. And they'll be like, oh, oh. You're like, suddenly I'm like, oh yeah, I never thought of it that way. Like that's why I love doing readings, because I'm just like, oh, because to see the way the soul, because what astrology is like a root intention. So your root intention is to become, to receive, and what's your moon? Gemini, isn't it?
I always forget that.
That's interesting. That speaks to his emotional EQ right there. Let's talk
I
to the
really,
missus. Is that true? Does he always forget? Therefore, he doesn't
I
see her feelings. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't see his, right?
literally, it's like Carolina knows what my moon is, but I don't. And I've offloaded that responsibility to her somehow. I never remember it.
Okay, I'll look it up when I'm not,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not preoccupied. But basically, your heart is here to receive, and you're here to receive so you can learn how things become. And while you're learning how things become, you are feeling some part of you. And I think it's Gemini. I think you're feeling thoughts and you're feeling communications, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong. Yeah.
Okay, so anything else? So
For this
what
week,
happened last week? So last week was like you said, training
oh, we froze again.
of that. It was completely reflective. Does that keep on happening, or is that like done?
You say it again because it sort of burped up or whatever.
The uh, the energy of last week, is that behind us, or are we still
Yes.
carrying that forward?
No, we're behind us. So the energy last week was pretty intense because we're in Virgo. So what we were doing last week was we're putting the final touches of who we become in society, which was based on who we become in daily life, which is based on who we become in ourselves, which is based on Pisces, which was what our soul wanted to become in the first place. So we were under major construction last week, where we were basically blooming and becoming a butterfly. It was like a metamorphosis. And so the problem about becoming is it's very uncomfortable in the sense that you're so attached to the old you, and you're afraid to hold on to the new you. So it's kind of like, it's hard to let go of the rail and hold on to the next one. And this particular Virgo season was like transformational. Like people became someone completely new, whether they realize it yet or not. It'll take 6 months for you to actually realize what you become. It takes
Mm.
that long for it all to fully realize, right? So that energy was as intense as it gets. So now we have become, so according to the astrology, we have become the new version of ourselves. So now we then start to interact with this new version in the first degrees of Libra. Okay, I've got this new part of me. I've become this karma-free person. I become this karma-free person. I don't know if you can hear me. The wounds have become my, right? So we used to treat ourselves poorly or without, without consideration or all these things, or with judgment, because we had this karma and this trauma. We've now released the trauma, which means you don't have to treat yourself like the idiot anymore, or whatever you were treating yourself. And that's what these next 9 days are. Like, it's over. Believe it, it is over. And it's over because you say it's over, right?
I like that theme.
I do too. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's hard to believe, and it'll take 6 months, but nobody's the same person anymore, and no one's on the same story.
All right. So we'll make a mental note, and then 6 months will go by, and we'll remember this moment. And that'll definitely sink in 6 months from now. I mean, a lot changes in 6 months.
I
It's a
know.
lot.
I know it's a lot. Well, what's going to change is all the parts of your life that are out of alignment, that are part of the old you instead of the new you. So, Scorpio is when we start to draw the lines. Like Libra's like, okay, I got to relate to. So now I relate to myself differently. From 10 to 19, now I relate to the world differently. I'm going to change. I'm going to be different in the world. And then from 20 to 20, I'm actually different to all personal relationships. So 10 to 19 is all my personal relationships. Now that I'm not a jerk to myself, I don't going to blow up on my wife. I don't going to blow up on my friend. I don't have to, I have to like be defensive with this person or that person, because I'm no longer ashamed of who I am, and I'm treating myself well. Therefore, I can treat others well. Mind you, most of the whole planet has gone through this change. So they're coming to you different too, which is what's profound about astrology. Everyone's changing at the same time. And then our perspective of the world changes in the third decan of Libra. So now we're like, I'm no longer the peon in the world. I'm no longer the loser. I'm no longer the jackass. I'm no longer this label that I have been my entire life based on my karma, right? So
I
that's,
definitely feel that.
yeah,
But
I do too. Yeah, yeah.
you're saying that we should even be open to expect different from the world, like the in totality.
Not yet, but yes.
Okay.
It will take time. Like it's working its way up. So Scorpio is like, okay, that's it. No more of this. So Scorpio is when you start Scorpio is when you start drawing the line. Like, okay, that's it. I'm not being a jerk to myself. That's it. I'm not gonna I'm closing the wall with this person that's dysfunctional. I'm no longer being this in the world. So Scorpio is when you actually carry out that Libra assessment. And then Scorpio cuts it off. Then Sag goes, okay, well, what's our story now? What's our belief now? We're no longer the loser. We're no longer this. What are we? What are we going to do? What's going to be the purpose, right, of us doing this? And so you rewrite the story in Sag. Then in Capricorn, you go, okay, let's make the story happen. I decide this. I decide that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to direct that, right? So you start to directing your life in a new direction. And then Aquarius comes and you go, oh, now that I'm directing the new direction, I don't belong in this town. I don't belong in this relationship. I don't belong here or here or here, because I'm directing my life in a whole new way, right? And then, then it goes to a Pisces where it's back to the soul and goes, okay, soul, how's it gone? It's been a whole year. You faced your karma, you released it, right? And you became this new person in Virgo. You start relating differently. You have a new Sagittarius. So where are you in your spiritual progress? And then you go, okay, I'm here in the timeline. This is where I want to be as a soul. And then in Aries, you're like, okay, rebirth the ego with this new upgraded soul. And it just goes around and around and around, year after year after year to infinity.
And whether you believe in astrology or not, you're still going to be experiencing this, but you're just going to be explaining it to yourself with different words.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you're going through this and you don't know it. Like and that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying that like people, I don't even know if it's Mars or somewhere else. You know, they, they will end up going through these cycles. If you leave a person alone in a room, they'll go through these cycles
Right.
naturally. They'll naturally go, not the Pisces one, actually the steps. It's interesting because the trip around the sun, which is the zodiac, is not the same number, not the same sequence we do inside of ourselves. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we talk about this in psychology too. There's different phases of life. There's just less of them, you know? And then to me, the way you talk about it is it's just way more dynamic. It's like broken down to even like daily phases
Yes.
and just recognizing
Hourly.
more of these phases. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Down to, hourly, down to moment. I mean, I can look at the moon. I mean, even the stuff we had, breaking apart here with our signal, I bet you if I go to the moon's degrees, I'll see that the moon's degrees were disrupted during that time. And just God is constantly changing the signal. So now you can think of the complexity of astrology. You have the sun, the earth, Mercury going through its numbers and its signs, right? So it's a sign which is a number, right? So Mercury in Gemini is sign 5. So it's in sign 5, and then it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, all to 29. So 5, 0 to 29, and then it goes into Cancer, 0 to 29. So it's like, it's these sequence upon sequences of numbers. And it's Mercury, and it's Venus, and it's the earth. And so there's all these conscious circles that are all changing step numbers at the same time and all sort of swirling the energy around into this complexity. And that swirl is what makes, individuals. So it takes 26,000 years to repeat one cycle. So the frequency never repeats ever, exactly for 26,000 years. That's how unique that whole combination is.
Right. And so every 26,000 years, there's a person born with the same exact imprint that you were born.
Yes,
If it's on the
but
same time of the day. Or is that even
pretty much
something? I
not
mean,
really true because what happens is the universe is constantly expanding at an ever increasing rate.
ah,
So the Earth is actually moving away from the core of away from the core of the Milky Way. So the Earth is never in the same place twice ever. By the time the Earth
right.
gets back to where it was last year, it's moved. It's moved
Yes.
like an inch. And we believe that that space is dark matter, and that's where we record our consciousness. The consciousness is actually recorded in empty space.
Ah, okay. And then it's not empty anymore. It's like a recorded, like a disc.
Yes, it's like a record, and like the planets are like record players or heads on the planet, and basically what happens is like you. So when you go back in time, you technically go back to the place in space time where Earth was at that moment. So if we're to go back in
There we
time, we
go.
have to actually fly to where the Earth was.
That's how other dimensional beings
Yes, go
can
through space time.
quote, time travel. It's not how we
Yes,
would imagine time travel. It's you're
it's
literally just going back to the record.
they go back to where the Earth was, the space the Earth was in that time. Because space
Amazing.
time is locked together. So you go back to the space that Earth was in that time, and you will be in that time. So this is why when people go on vacations and they have past life memories open up, is because they go back to the space in time where that lifetime was, and it activates the memory while they're there. Just activates it. So all my clients, whenever they go, I'm going to Europe, I'm like, oh Jesus, what's going on? It's like it's a past life thing. They're being drawn to. Oh, it's going to be fun. I'm like, hold on a second. You might have a past life recreation, animation. And what that is the reanimating of that past life memory so that you can understand and relate it to this life.
Amazing.
It is
Anything
fun.
else pertinent before we let go here?
Just that you have to be forgiving. So I've been talking about receiving, but also remember you have the power to not receive. I'm not going to take that guilt. I'm not going to take that shame. I'm not going to take that criticism. I'm not going to take that from myself. and you decide what you don't want to receive. And a lot of the problems that people have with like beating themselves up and feeling bad is that it's not that you did it, it's that you did it and it hurt you. And it hurt you because you took it to heart. And so you took it to heart, you took it. So if I say you're a son of a bitch, well, you're not going to take it to heart. Like, cause
Right.
like he's whatever, Witecki's being a goofball. But see, that is you refuse to receive it. Like, no, I'm not receiving that. No, it's like it doesn't get in.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt your heart. So you're going to be reviewing all the parts of your life where you have majorly screwed up with yourself. And this is so you can let it go. This isn't so you can feel bad. I mean, there's nothing to feel bad about anymore. It's not going to do the universe or you any good. It's not going to do anyone any good. Now, your family, no one around you. We're at a point now where it's a total new timeline. Everyone gets a blank slate. Everything is wiped. Everything is canceled because all of it was an illusion, anyways. And so it's only you that will continue it, not God. You know, the universe isn't going to keep putting your face. Only you will continue at this point. If you receive it, you take it to heart, then it hurts you. If you don't, then it doesn't. Do you get punished? No. No, you will not get punished. Nothing will hurt you. It's hard to
Right.
believe. It's hard to believe because we've been told over and over again, you know, that God and all these other things are gonna, you know, we're sinners and we're gonna be hurting and all this brainwashed bullshit. It's not how the world works. It's not how God works. And really it comes down to, honestly, here's the truth. If someone does something really horrible, they're only punished for it if they think they need to be. That's why assholes get away with everything. They don't feel they need to be punished, and so they aren't. It's crazy, but it's true.
Yeah,
It's
we're
like the
doing it
little
to
secret.
ourselves.
We're completely doing ourselves. God doesn't judge and God doesn't punish. God does not, you know, God
Speaking
doesn't
of
judge.
permission, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It is
Oh,
amazing because you can be
really enough.
free of all your problems right now if you decide to be. If you decide to let it go, if you decide not to receive it, you decide not to take it to heart. You can say to yourself, yes, I was a jerk, but I'm not going to take it to heart. I'm not going to let it hurt my heart anymore. Yes, that happened, but I'm not going to hurt my heart anymore. And so that is you receiving actually your shadow and incorporating your shadow. Your shadow is your hurt part and your damaged self. So when you refuse to take the pain but take the knowledge, you have integrated your shadow. Because you go, okay, I learned, but I'm not going to pain, not going to hurt for it. If you hurt for it, you repeat the pattern. You repeat the pattern because now your soul's hurting. It wants to act out. It wants to recreate the opportunity. It wants a second chance to try to do it again. And so it manifests as a second chance, right? And there you go. You know, you're stuck in the loop again. So the astrology says for the next 24 years, you have the opportunity every year to come out of your crap. So for those who missed it, for those who know Serious Joy Human Garage, and you didn't follow us, just us just taking you through the steps, you got next year from Pisces to Virgo to do it again. And next year, next year, next year, as long as Pluto's in Aquarius. So everyone has about 23 years to do it.
Hopefully that's
And, you know, so, yeah. So don't feel bad if you missed out or whatever.
right. Yeah, we're as free as we decide to be. Amazing.
Correct. We're everything we decide to be. We're in creation. We can literally do anything we want and be anything we want. And that's the gift God gave us. And some assholes came down and lied to us about how it works. And we believe that. And we have been down this path. There's a bunch of jerks, you know, kings, you know, priests. They're all lying so they can control us. The truth is, you can be anything you want and you can create anything you want.
Yeah, and we can
Mm-hmm.
keep on talking about this because this is a portal into a whole amazing subject. But I'm gonna leave that for everybody else to figure out in their life.
Right. There you go. Good
Like
way to not receive.
it's the
Yeah.
movie that makes us think. Like that's where we're at right now. So everybody, Chris will be back. You're coming back on Thursday and Monday. Is that your schedule for these
I'll be
lives?
back on what is today? Today's
Monday.
Monday, so I'll be back on Thursday with Astro Mechanics. So I do a mechanic show on Thursday where we get the nitty gritty and we sort of pull people up on camera and we get like kind of dissected in their charts and kind of get to specific examples of everything I talk about. So it's like me without you.
Yeah. So everybody who's asking questions in the chat, that's the day to come do that
Right.
with Chris.
Totally. And I will answer three people's questions, and my spirit guides tell me who to ask. So if you feel called, put your name in there because you know it might be your time, and it's really funny how it works. But I can't wait to do it. Will I see you next week, or is Gary back? Or
I think Gary's back next week, but we'll see.
okay,
Coming
yeah,
to
excellent. Well,
Miami?
I'm not sure yet. I'm because I'm just on the. I don't
Oh,
know. Like
okay.
my heart wants to, but my heart is also feeling another pull. So I might or may not. I
Right.
wish I could say definitely, and I don't want to let anyone down, but we'll see. It's kind of cramped for me.
All good.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'll see you regardless, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
we'll find a way.
All right. Take care, everybody.
You too, guys.
Thanks for
Love you
being
guys.
here.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
brother. Bye, everyone. Ciao.